Okay, everybody, we're going to be going live in a second, so just an FYI. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming out to the October meeting of City on Rising. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Doyle. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We have a few members of the board here tonight, including Jeff Cunningham, who just walked in, Nancy Keck, who's our new member of our board, so congratulations to Nancy, and Louisa Benedetto, who's right over here. Other members are coming and will be arriving as the meeting draws on. I didn't want to keep people here unnecessarily. Come on, Hilda. We want to start with we have a special guest speaker, so I wanted to lead with that. We're going to ask that you stand right over here, Assembly Member, just because we are recording this. So without further ado, our Assembly Member, Michael Benedetto. Let's give him a round of applause.
Did you put an X on the spot?
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about doing some stagecraft for you, sir.
Whoever, and which way do I talk?
You just keep going, Michelle.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. This is so nice. It's a little cool outside tonight, isn't it? Yeah, I had to put on my vest. We live in interesting times now, don't we?
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah. I don't know where to begin. First, in the city of New York, very interesting times. We have an election coming on up. And when I walked in here tonight, I wasn't too sure what was going on because I see everybody with these papers, and I thought it was City Island Rising, and I'm looking at, and I think maybe I'm at an audition for a play. Everybody has what they're reading. So, but it was told to me that's just the ballot propositions that we have for this year. An interesting thing, a little game being played there this coming. But again, the most interesting thing is we're going to have a new mayor. There's no doubt about it. Well, since the old mayor has dropped out of the race, but we're going to have a mayor who's a young kid. 33 years old and with new ideas, and hopefully he has the energy and the intelligence, and I think he does, to guide this city in the right way. He's personally, he's not my choice, but as a matter of fact, he's been my colleague for about 5 years in Albany, and we really haven't spoken. Except when he called. The first time we really had a dialogue was about 1.5 years ago. I was having my Christmas party with my staff. And were you there, John?
Yes.
And my phone rings, and it happens to be Zoran. And Zoran's never called me. We've never spoken. Okay, and Zoran, how are you? Merry Christmas, whatever. And well, what do I owe to come? Well, I just called to tell you, out of courtesy, that I'm supporting your opponent next year in the election. Oh, okay. Thanks a lot for calling, and have a Merry Christmas. And that has been the extent of it. We don't share the same opinion of some things, but he's going to be the next mayor, and I think he's going to learn very quickly about the everyday needs of the city of New York. That New Yorkers have to know that they're safe in their homes and on their streets, and he'll have to adapt and modify some of the ideas he's had over the years. And I have a lot of hope for him. Okay. I think he might turn out to be a pretty good mayor. But that will remain to be seen. I thought Eric Adams was going to be a good mayor, and I guess in some regards he was, but he made a terrible deal with that person in Washington, and well, you know, you make mistakes sometimes. At any rate, it's an interesting year there, and it's an interesting what's going on nationally with the shutdown of the United States government, and it remains to be seen if this shutdown is going to inevitably be a good thing. I support the Democrats and what they're doing. I believe you got to make at times a stand, and they are making a stand now, for better or for worse, and there's going to be a lot of people who are hurt, and I don't know how it's going to end. But a stand must be made. A stand, by the way, okay? And John and I have been talking about this because John is always pushing me to do things, and I agree with him that I do this thing called a Minute with Mike. I don't know if any of you ever seen that, but once in a while John takes a video of me as I talk stupidly or whatever about some topic. And I wanted to say something about Donald Trump's, what I perceive and many people perceive as a terrible abuse of our government and the agencies in our government, in particular the Department of Justice, and what he's doing to try to get revenge. Okay, and just tonight I was, maybe this is what I'll do my Minute with Mike on. Okay, for the first time, okay, James Comey, who has, as you know, been indicted, okay, a revenge indictment, his lawyers have put before the judge to have that indictment thrown out, and using as an excuse, this is a revenge indictment, and they are putting forth Donald Trump's own words, saying that this was he wanted him convicted, well, whatever Donald Trump said, and that this was an indictment that shouldn't have come. And I'm waiting for the judge to be one of the first people to show the backbone that is needed to stand up to this president and throw out the indictment, because it is a revenge indictment, and hopefully other judges will follow suit and throw out indictments against Tish James, and maybe very well John Bolton. It's just terrible. It infuriates me what he's doing to our country and to our Constitution, and how they're trying to rework it, even to the point of blowing people up in the middle of the ocean. And maybe they're bad people, and it's terrible when you have a man who is the head of your country, who you're supposed to believe in, and you gotta question all the things he does, and is he telling you the truth? Okay, and are there people moving drugs on these boats that he seems to enjoy blowing up? At any rate, it is one terrible thing that hopefully will be rectified next year in the midterm elections, and we cross our fingers. And at least on top of that thing that's very encouraging to me, this James Comey lawyers wanting to throw out, okay, comes following Saturdays. Boy, was I, smiling when I heard the news that 7 million people across this country were out protesting against kings and working for the Constitution of this country. So, at any rate, this is the world I live in, and I enjoy the job I do. I enjoy the job in a limited degree, going up to Albany and trying to make decent legislation for the people of New York State, and to a large extent, dabbing my feet in, national politics. But with knowing, of course, that we have a limited role here, but we have the voice of protest, and thank God we have that. And, it's an interesting thing how people peacefully, and that's a wonderful thing also. It was a peaceful 7 million people going out and protesting against their president, and that the other party of this country called that the Hate American March. Says an awful lot, but enough. Let me stop talking. John, I'll turn it back to you if anybody has any questions or say, well, that's very cute and you're talking about nationals. Crap, and maybe you should talk about other things.
I have questions.
So,
Steve, your first question then.
good.
How is legislation, we know that when the new mayor comes in, we hear what the president intends on doing to the city of New York.
Yeah.
What, if anything, can we anticipate? What should we be looking for? What's going to happen? Legislatively, is anyone talking about what we can expect?
That is all we've been talking about for this whole year.
Yeah.
Our leader in the assembly, Carl Lacey, he has been hearing it from many people in our conference, the Democratic conference, yelling, we've got to do something about this. And the problem is, we don't know yet, okay? We know we're going to be losing money here and there as the monies are being cut. But we're gonna probably be the first order of business once we go back in Albany and start putting that budget together to try to patch the holes of the money that is gone. And each individual agency within the state is gonna have to say, this is what we have to make up now. And how do we make that money up? Well, we know we can patch here and there, because you get extra money coming into in reserve money and savings and so on, but we can't patch everything up. We know that. So we got to find out first, what we can patch, and then if we want to patch more of lost money, we got to figure out hard decisions, especially in an election year, how we're going to get some more money in. Do we impose new taxes? Okay, the popular thing is, well, tax the rich people and so on. And easier said than done. I'm always, for doing that, but you got to be careful what you do because you don't want people to run out of your state and whatnot. So that all has to be figured out. So, come January, we're going to see what the deficit's going to be, what we're going to do to, patch it up with existing funds, and how can we raise more funds to back us up.
Thank you.
So,
Jason.
On the topic of personal finances or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I've noticed in the last several years, but very specifically the last 2 years, that companies or a company who has a monopoly, Con Ed, just has outrageous costs and surcharges. And so I have solar panels on my house, yet I still pay about $190 a month just for hookups.
Yeah.
And things like that. I literally produce more electricity than I need, and I'm still how is that even allowed in a place that there's only one company that provides electricity and gas for however many million people live in New York City. There seems to be no regulation. There seems to be no protection of the people. I find it outrageous that literally to give Con Ed my electricity, I have to pay them. But it just also seems to go up and go up and go up every
it's universal. I'm trying to think back, okay? And I remember back in the 70s. It was the 70s. And I remember going in front of the Public Service Commission, you know, saying more or less the same thing. And what kind of regulation, and Con Edison does have quite a unique place because of just the way energy is produced right now. I don't know if that's going to change or when it's going to change, but if technologies are changing all the time, and that might be the end of people like Con Edison, the abuse, and so on. But that is something. One of the laws that we are trying to get the governor to sign is to create an ombudsman, okay, for just this reason, and to put a check on some of the things. And maybe the time is coming that this is going to happen. Electricity is becoming more and more important with electrical cars and everything, and the importance of clean energy, okay? But it can't be used to choke people. And it's a problem, not just here in New York, but you listen to the commercials that are going next door in New Jersey, okay? They're saying the same thing. And the same thing is basically all across the country, okay? What can be done right now? Very limited, okay? People are yelling more and more, we need more and more electricity because we're passing laws up there, okay, for clean energy, okay, which is needed, okay, because we gotta protect our earth and environmental and so on, and yet at the same time, we are yelling about the cost of it. So some balance is going. What's the answer? I don't know.
I wouldn't mind paying for electricity, but I'm not paying for electricity. I'm paying for a CEO's, salary, and that's the part that's frustrating me. If I knew that employees were getting the money, or it was truly going to Fordham Street, fixing those light poles that have been out for the whole year, I'd be perfectly happy with spending the money, but because it doesn't go anywhere, I get frustrated with it. So
The regulation of it all.
Just building on what Jason said, you know, we still are having some issues with the utility lines being above ground. There was a bad windstorm this week, and the lights, everyone knows. I think everybody's lights and their alarms and everything went on and off and on and off. And when we go to Con Edison, they claim that, you know, they cry poverty, but they're raking in more money than anyone else, and the corporate salaries are out of control. So it is something that, I know there are a bunch of utility bills. I think I forwarded them to you. You might want to look them over, because maybe there's a way to rein these companies in. Anyone else have questions, comments, concerns? Do you want to speak a little bit at the 3PK?
3PK?
Yeah.
You mean what we got at 175? We got we got 3PK at 175. After years of kind of yelling and the Board of Education, they finally listened a little bit, and they started one up there. So it's just one of the things that you work on, and sometimes you lose these battles, but sometimes you win these battles, and not much to say. It's there now, and that's a great thing for the people with young children here in City Island. And it's just those little things that just kind of makes you happy. Okay, like we've been talking about, and we're still going to see about when we have the money to do it, but getting some August cameras to plant up in and around Pelham Bay and in Pelham Bay Park, because there has been some incidents right now, and we can do something to possibly prevent and eventually catch criminals who might be performing bad things in the area. It's just some of the things that we do normally, and guess maybe I should tout them a little more, but Yeah, it's,
So you were on a roll with the Trump stuff. I didn't want to interrupt you. You,
No,
you were going there, so
I know.
absolutely.
What else do we have going, John? You know more than me half the day.
Well,
Because I generally just forget them and just move on.
no, I guess, do you want to speak with the Metro North and what's going on there? Because a lot of people here are probably going to use the one in Co-op City because it's right over the train
You know,
track.
this is one of the things.
Yeah.
This is one of the things. It's an interesting thing. It's a theoretical thing. So you guys decide in your own mind on it. In the city of New York, you got term limits to all these people. Okay, you can serve 2 terms, 8 years, and you're gone. Okay, and that's basically it. Okay, and I've been a little over that in my years up in Albany. Okay, since I started, okay, in the assembly, I have been pushing for the Metro North and talking. I was talking with Mayor Bloomberg about this, the importance of it, and getting a Metro North station down into this area. And the tracks are right here. Why don't we have a station? Okay. Finally, years later, I was able to convince, okay, the governor at that time. Cuomo was governor. This is around about 2013, and he finally signed on to the ideas, and the ball has been going forward. Okay, Metro North is coming. When we can get the last pieces together, because it's not an easy thing, we got to be talking with Amtrak and all sorts of problems that are going, and bridges have to be stabilized. But we know it's coming. And the point I was really trying to make, a city councilman is in office 8 years and so on, gone and whatnot. They can't follow through on these projects, okay? Sometimes a project like Metro North needs a lot of years to get it done, and in this particular case, we're doing it. When it's gonna be here, I don't know, okay? We've been, they've been throwing out, at one time, they were saying 2025 we'll have it. Well, it's not 2025, it's not going to happen, and maybe 2027, but it's coming, it's finally coming. They're actually, doing the construction on I know the Co-op City station that's going to be.
Will there be parking?
Well, no, not in the Co-op City one. There won't be parking, okay? Now, I've been trying to convince, the MTA to create parking. They won't do it in Co-op City, and probably it's a good reason, because of where you're gonna put it there. But if you can put it on this side of Pelham Parkway, okay, because there is room there, and you can create parking there and just have like a short little bridge to bring you on to the other side of the tracks. That's doable. So that's what I've been working on, okay? I've also been working on a shuttle bus within Co-op City to bring people into the eventual station. But it's coming. It's a happiness. It's slow, but it's happiness. Yeah. What else, John?
Do you want to go over the Rodman's Neck bill?
Oh, the Rodman Neck bill. Yeah, there's been a number of the firing ranges, what John is talking about, and getting some regulations. If they go, it was, going back to Bloomberg again, they were supposed to move the firing range over towards near the police new facility in Queens, near the New York Times building, and where the police training center is over there. They got a spot, they can put it there, but they kind of ran out of money and they really didn't put it there, and so it kept it there. So on the alternate, we want to say, if it's going to be kept there, let's do some environmentally smart things about it, and let's have it put into law that certain things should be put in place, like monitoring the soil, monitoring the water that's around it, certain hours that they can actually do firing, between what hours and what hours, and after that it's got to be stopped, and so on. So we're trying to move this bill. One of the great delights, which I never really knew before I put that bill in, is that there are other localities in the state of New York that have similar situations. And I've had many, assembly people come up to me and say, we like your bill, we want to sign. And so what we're trying to do now is get a groundswell of assembly people that will be able now to push the bill, so it's not just one locality trying to do things. There's a bunch of them. So we're hopefully gonna, move that particular bill. On a related subject, we're also we're working on a bill, okay? Abandoned boats are a problem, okay? Throughout the state of New York. I mean, it's not just our area here that you see abandoned boats being washed ashore, okay? It's throughout the city of New York, since we got water all over, and it happens all over. And it happens upstate too, okay? You got the Finger Lakes up there, you have the same problem there. And you got the Great Lakes, okay, Lake Erie, abuts us. And so they have that problem up there. What we're trying to do is get a general fund together, a statewide fund, to make sure we have activities throughout the state wherever there is water, be it in New York City or out there on Long Island or upstate near the Great Lakes and the Finger Lakes, that they will, if there's abandoned boats, that they can gather those boats and tow them away and dispose of them well. So we're trying to figure out the right mechanism that we can go in that particular area to do. So it's not an easy thing to figure out, but we got to figure out the funding stream, okay, and some sort of a tax or registration fee for all of these boats that can cover the cost of all this. So we're working on that one. Did I see somebody else with their hand up? Okay.
Someone had emailed to comment or put it on Facebook.
Okay.
Do you want to speak about the casino and what's going on with that and
Sure.
what's been happening in current
Sure.
events? Because you've been very involved in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, who knows what's going to happen? You all know, I presume, there are 3 licenses that can be given out. Okay, we have allowed 3 licenses to be given out. Now, if you were talking to me come last January, I would have said, yeah, okay, and most probably one of those licenses will go out to the casino that's already near Aqueduct and JFK. Okay, Resorts International has that out there. Okay, they've been operating that for years, and so people were thinking they'll get one of them. The second one was always going to go to Yonkers. Okay, Empire City has been operating there for years. Boom, and so that left one to be really awarded. One that will most probably open for people to get. Well, many people, maybe 8 of them, applied from various regions, the city of New York and Long Island and so on. And one by one, they were eliminated, either dropping out and pulling out of the race, or local boards would not approve them. And that left 4 people in the race for the 3 licenses, okay? The 4 being Aqueduct, Empire City, Queens, near Shea Stadium there, and Ferry Point Park with Bally's, okay? And then the bombshell kind of happened last week. Yonkers pulled out of the race. wow, threw everybody for a loop. I didn't expect it. Nobody expected it. Okay, so they're out of the game now. That means 3 for 3 licenses. What's going to happen? I don't know. It's up to the Gaming Commission up in Albany, up wherever they meet. Okay, they'll make the decision sometime in December. What will the decision be? I don't know. Okay, because they can award up to 3 licenses, but they don't have to. They can award just 1. Okay, leave 2 persons crying. You know, or they can do 2, or they can do all 3. And combining with all of this, we are, as we were talking about, what are we going to do money-wise here going forward? The governor looking to do a budget, and she was, for the most part, counting on the money from the licenses, because you win the license. If you're awarded a license, okay, very good. Now you have to pay New York State to get this license. How much? $500 million. And the governor was probably budgeting or thinking ahead that she will have $1.5 billion to put into the budget. Okay, so what do? Award all 3? And if they don't award all 3, well, maybe just 1. Well, then you get $500 million, but you lose $1 billion. I don't know if the economics of it all works. And for God's sakes, you know, I hate to even mention the name Trump, but does that work into it? Because Trump, not that he would ever do such a thing, put pressure on people to award Bally's, because if it goes to Bally's and they get it, Bally's has to give the Trump organization $115 million. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's a great thing to talk about over cocktails with your buddy. Okay, what's going to happen, but nobody knows. We won't know until December, and that's what's happening.
Is this a valley on parkland?
No. Does Bally's own parkland?
No, is it on?
It will be on parkland.
Yes, it will, and they made an agreement they would replace the park area.
Yes, it will.
Where on earth would they find it?
Well, that's of course another section. Understand, I'm not talking for Bally's. Yeah. I personally see the yeses and the nos for the project. You know, I'm ambivalent, okay? But to be fair to Bally's, okay, right now, there's a golf course there, as you know, okay?
And that was leased from the city by the,
No,
and the
it
park
is,
department
yes,
with
yes.
an agreement.
Yes, and it's leased to the city for 15 years, 25 years, I don't know exactly what it says. And they have a parking lot for the cars who come to go to the clubhouse for fairs and for golf. The casino will be built on the parking lot. Okay, it won't be in active recreational areas at all. The whole other side of Ferry Point Park won't be touched. It's just where the golf course is, and they have the parking lot. So understand
It's
that.
just right by the water. It's very nice.
And that is a big concern, and you know, will the water be affected in the Long Island Sound? Understood.
I deal with that every day, yes.
Yeah. You know, it is a concern. It's one of the concerns that the Gaming Commission, it's before them, and they would be weighing that environmentally. Is it good?
It's a disaster, and I'm quite.
Well, okay.
Well, just
Okay.
so you know, the Assembly Member, and we've met with the Save the Sound people, so we are trying to talk to them about mitigating, should it go forward.
Yeah, I've
some of
talked
those
to John
concerns.
a lot, I know,
I know.
I mean David, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just letting you know that your concerns are not falling on deaf ears. That's the only reason I was typing in.
It's out there, yeah.
Does anyone else have a question, comment, or concern? All right. Assembly Member, thank you for coming.
Am I being dismissed, John?
No, you could sit
No,
around and hang out with us if
I
you'd
will
like.
sit and talk with my daughter.
There we go.
Briefly. Okay.
She
Well,
looks
it was a
so-
pleasure that you all, took this time out. I appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I did bring the microphone here, but I'm gonna try to go without it. But I'm telling you all this because if you ask a question, which I always welcome, project, because there's always that one person watching online who's gonna send me a nasty email the next day that they couldn't hear half the meeting, and why does this keep happening, and no one really likes that. So let's just be loud when we're talking, because there are people watching from afar. Community updates, I have a lot of them here on the agenda. I try to keep it so everybody sees it. The Narcan was a success. 10 City Islanders showed up. They got trained in how to save a life. We do these every year. DOH is nice enough to send someone. And I do have extra Narcan, so if you have been trained and you need a Narcan, just email, call, text, private message me, whatever. We'll get it to you. But we can definitely do that. We are going to be doing a Stop the Bleed. I'm calling on some of my colleagues from Jacoby to come back. Gary Heckler, who was at our June meeting, he's going to come back with his team. I don't have a date yet. It's going to be in mid-November, so I'll put something out there for everybody. This is where they teach you how to do tourniquets and how to, God forbid you find yourself in a mass casualty event, which is horrific, but this is the world we live in, and I think the Midtown shooting kind of showed us this. This is just preparation. And it's just something good for you to know. I hope none of us are ever in that situation. My friends, my enemies, nobody. I wouldn't wish that on a single soul. But we should all, this is training that is good to have. God forbid you're out in the woods or hiking or something and somebody's got a profuse bleeding situation. It can be helpful. So we'll have some dates on that. We're going to do it in mid to late November. So I'll be in touch on that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there any way that they could do a CPR?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. So the Pearl over here, they want to do a certified CPR. We did this, you might remember, about 2 years ago. So I'm going to reach out to our CPR instructor. She seemed to be very well received, her and her companion. So I'm going to reach out and we'll do a paid CPR. We will. Remember, last time we footed the entire bill. This time we might go around and ask a few people to help us sponsor it because it's like $50 a person. So, maybe we'll get a grant to fund it. I'll reach out to OEM. We'll see what we can do. But yes, definitely a CPR thing. The thing is you need to get the certified instructor, and I'm not sure Gary is, but that's definitely to do that again. It's definitely on my mind as well.
John,
Yes.
let me know,
Okay.
and I will
Thank you, son.
sponsor.
Give us money.
Yes. There we go.
That's what I was referring to, yes.
Thank you.
Sponsor.
Thank you, Mike. Great. So on the flooding side, we had everyone remembers Ben Goldberg. He was here at our last meeting. He was our speaker from New York Sea Grant. He was saying that there's grants available. They offer grant writing courses and a lot of different things. I know he spoke with you afterwards for the Hutchinson River and the oyster projects and all of that. We had a long conference call with him today. We're going to be pursuing this more. David Diaz and I were speaking with him, so we're going to start getting that information together. It's kind of going to build on some of the stuff the Hunter College students do, which kind of put together the sustainability plan going into where our flooding is, and it probably will build on the dangers of a one-way in, one-way out area, and it's probably going to be including the Pelham Bay Park area as well. Interestingly enough, and this kind of builds me to my second point here. So, as you all know, we've been working with the mayor's office for a number of years to deal with flooding in the park and deal with all the park-related issues because we all drive through the park or take the bus through the park, or if you're leaving City Island, you're going through the park. Let's just leave it at that. So everybody's noticing and mindful of the issues there. They did fix 25 lights. They did fix Lake Orchard. They did fix the Miniford Moat. They did repair on Rebel Street the basin there. They have fixed that. We're trying to push them to do a few more minor things along the way. Unfortunately, you know, again, as the Assembly member brought up, we are in the change of administrations, and we just recently got an email back from the Deputy Mayor's office that they've been very helpful. I have to say they've been very helpful for 2-3 years running, that, you know, basically the transition is starting, so to speak. So we are going to try to get this on the agenda of the next mayor, which I've already done because I had an opportunity to be in his company, so I've already mentioned this among other issues, but we're going to continue on that route, and we're going to try to work this into our grant as well. Rodman's Neck, which was discussed here a little bit already, we were all ready to have the meeting at Cinema on the Sound. A few of us were there. Not many of us, I have to say, so if you care about Rodman's Neck, we need you to show up to the meeting. We pushed to have it on City Island, and you know, not many, unfortunately, maybe it was a bad day, not many people showed up, but also who didn't show up? The guest speaker. He had a family emergency, and he totally missed it, but we're, Bob Beater and I are looking to get that back on for the first week of December. So, no, Bob Beater runs it goes through the 45th Precinct Council.
John,
Yes.
did you reach out to Spencer States also?
I will definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
George Habernack is on the precinct council, so he'll let them know. No, good point. We
They
try to
have
get
a lot of
everybody
issues
from
with
all the different, because Edgewater Park cares about this, Country Club cares about this, some people in Co-op City care about this. So we do try to come at this as a broader regional issue, not just the City Island issue, because particularly when you're trying to get some policymakers, not our local policymakers, but people wider than that, if they think it's only something of a concern for 4,500 people, it's not high on the to-do list for them. So we are trying to, again, approach it as a broader regional issue. But we did have it out here because for many years, actually, we met at Community Board 10. We'd have the meeting in Community Board 10, and a lot of the islanders would show up, and they would complain that it was a dramatic inconvenience to go to Thrive's Neck and sit in the Community Board 10 office. So Bob Beater said, okay, we'll move it to City, if that's what you guys want, we'll move it to City Island. And now we're moving to City Island, and rather than I would grab the people came and complained about that, and they still showed up, but we'll see what happens. Maybe it was just a bad scheduling thing. We're also going to be engaging OEM to discuss the bridge closures. This is the bridge closure that was in July and September. These went on for hours. Leaves the community uniquely vulnerable. I know you and I discussed this once, Barbara, so this is something we're going to be looking to engage them on because we've been pushing them to do a CERT class for many years. And frankly, the fact that we're so unique, CERT is Community Emergency Response Team. And the fact of the matter is that closing down the bridge for hours on end is an example of how uniquely vulnerable we are. And I happen to know a few cases where somebody needed to get back to get their medication within a certain period of time. And, you know, thankfully, someone reached out to me and I called the captain and things were able to be worked out. But, you know, it shouldn't depend on calling me or anyone else. It should be, you know, we got to find a way to make this work. So we're going to be pursuing this with more vigor in the season ahead. The dog run, we discussed this a few months back, possibly putting it at Bound Street. Councilmember Salamanca had come by at that meeting. He's the chair of the Land Use Committee. He and I have been texting, but we haven't yet sat down and went through everything. He's also has a very good rapport with the owners of Seafood City. So the hope is that he'll be able to facilitate something that everyone can be comfortable with, and then we will go to all our elected officials to try to get a dog run at a central point on the island. The minor updates are all here, from utility poles to T-Mobile service to, it's supposed to be Kilroy, not Kilroy or whatever I put here. The bus stop right when you come over the bridge at Bridge Park, Catherine Scott Promenade, there was a bus stop there. It was something that a lot of the residents on Miniford and King used. And when they started the park construction, they took away the bus stop temporarily, but it's been construction to stop. They put the bus stop back. We brought it to the MTA. Next month, the bus stop will return for the residents on the north end of the island. I know that's been important for people. There was an abandoned car in Powell Place. It's since been removed. The utility poles, Jason already brought that up, so I don't feel the need to go into that. The pole has been replaced, but they have not yet been down there to service the existing pole. So the problem is solved, but the problem is solved yet still there at the same
If
time.
you're over 6 feet tall, you can't walk on the side of the street because you get
Yes, it's a very unique problem from some of our height-gifted neighbors here. The schoolyard construction is there. This is the temporary classrooms that were in the back, installed in 2001. They've been there for almost 20 years in use. They're removing them. That's why all the construction walls are up in Ambrosini Field. They are going to remove. The construction was delayed. They said they ran into unexpected circumstances. I quoted it when we put it on social media, and they'd be like, "Well, what are the unexpected circumstances?" And I was like, "Well, follow up on that if they don't get it removed by November, and try to get you a better answer." But at least it seems to light a fire into them. Hart Island, the pier is being demolished and reconstructed. I printed out one of the notices there. It's 18 pages long, but if that's something you're interested in, you can go right over there. And then we just, as I said at the last meeting, we purchased a state-of-the-art camera, like one of the handheld cameras that you've probably seen people filming all sorts of stand-up videos with on social media. We're going to be using this to do ferry videos. So, particularly Sean, who works in this industry, but anyone else, if you have some good ideas and you think that we could do a good video, let us know. We're going to be going around trying to get different viewpoints from business owners, from residents, from younger people, from older people, showing all the different facts of life on City Island. So let us know. Elected official report, we only have one elected official here today. He's already given the report. I know that Senator Fernandez's representative is watching online. So if she chimes in, we'll get it out there later, whatever information she shares. And I know the Congresswoman's representative said she might be sending something along as well. The only thing I have under new business, I put the ballot propositions. We're also, DOT does a grant program to install artwork in the community. So I've tried to work on this with a few artists. If anyone has any good ideas, let me know. Some sort of public art that might be something people want to see.
So DOT funds that?
Yeah, DOT funds that.
And where does it get installed? Or
It can be installed right on the street. It just can't interfere with traffic. There's all these rules and regulations on it. I figured rather than go through that, because it could be constricting for some, if you have an idea, bring it to us, email us at the email there, and if we can make it work, great. And if we can't, we'll get back to you with why we can't do it. Does anyone have any questions about what I put on the sheet here? Everyone's being really easy today. I appreciate that. As it relates to, a few of you texted that you wanted to know more about the ballot propositions, so I printed out, and there's enough here for everyone here, so I printed out 30, about 20 here. This is all the information about the ballot propositions, so we'll just go through them really quickly. The first one is about the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
I had this overall thing about this, you know, the right wingers always say the reasons there's not affordable housing is too many regulations.
Yeah.
And
Regulations.
too many regulations is the reason that, you know,
Mhm.
and it's, in my mind, it's because the developers don't make enough money on it, that's the reason. So, is there any information, any hard information that says that this is a reason?
Mhm.
It seems to me that these are proposals looking for a problem that's not there. Is it? What is
Yeah,
it? And I'm asking your opinion.
Okay. So, I will give my opinion. To preface my opinion, because we are being recorded right now in our nonprofit organization, this group has not weighed in on any of these ballot propositions, and I don't get the sense from the board that we are going to weigh in tonight. Having said that, there was an article today in the Gothamist which talked about how, unfortunately, with the tariffs and everything else going on, it's becoming more and more difficult to do affordable housing with existing construction and you know, wages and things the way they are. Beyond that, you know, again, there's, if you look at the city of New York over time, for years, particularly in the post-war years, housing shot up and it was going at a dramatic rate. And then in the last 20 years, it has not been. And as a result of that, you've seen a vacancy rate in terms of housing at about 1%, so people can't find housing. Now, there are many moderate ways of dealing with that. Accessory dwelling units, basement apartments, allowing duplexes and things along that nature. That's not what this is. This is, as I think you said, creates a new structure. These ballot propositions, I'm gonna get right to you. These ballot propositions were introduced by the mayor's office, so this is what the mayor felt was the way to do it. Everyone should have got something in their mailbox from the city council. They're opposed to a lot of these.
Totally.
Our council member is opposed to a lot of these. I believe all the council members are pretty much opposed to these. But I figured this, from the League of Women Voters, gives you the pros and the cons. They're very transparent in what their opinions are, but I'm just providing this as a source of information so people can be informed. Obviously you have on here, the first one, which is related to a ski thing at Adirondack Park. So most people aren't even familiar with that. And then you have changes to the city council. I believe one of the changes is to move the voting day, or basically make it so we don't have these off-year elections. Yeah, so that is something you might want to consider, only because a lot of people don't show up in these off-year elections. And if we did them when people actually show up, you might get a different electorate that was more representative of the people they serve. Jason, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep you.
No, I was just gonna add, so for 2 years I managed 17 affordable housing units for the Sisters of Charity of New York. So as a nonprofit, we didn't have the same reason for building properties. We had a property in Staten Island, which was a former pier, a former Navy yard that had been abandoned for many years. So that 4 years ago, we were awarded a contract, or 5 years ago, we were awarded a contract for 365 units. That was through ArchCare and a whole bunch of other organizations. We had all the funding, it still has yet to have a shovel going to the ground.
And that's because of.
That, well, it's because of regulations. It's because of the city council
Will
putting their feet
these
down.
changes address that?
I think some of these. So housing is such a complicated issue because there's so many factors involved. So like each neighborhood has its own agenda when it comes to housing, right? Like I think we would have our own agenda here on City Island. I would have mine, which would be different than what I used to say as a housing person, right? But I think there's a positive within this, but there's also a negative, right? Because it's a platform it's a universal answer to something that isn't a universal problem, right? The problems that exist on Morris Park or something like that are very different than the problem. Like I would say, from my experience, that property in Staten Island, it's an eyesore, it's a blight. And this building would be a beautiful addition to that, where I know the thing that was going on over there near Food Town, like that's a totally different conversation, because that's a pretty vibrant neighborhood, right? And you're taking out a grocery store to put in something else. So those are two different, but yes and no, I guess is the answer. It's not a clean answer for you. But.
Two points of thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for your candor, because there are people who have that. In my neighborhood maybe not, but in other areas, yes. I mean that's really what Jason said. Really touched on the problem citywide, right? Everybody says they want affordable housing, but when it comes to their block or in their backyard, sometimes voices change. I will mention on the flip side of that, Adrian Adams the other day in the council said, this city council has approved 93% of the housing proposals that have come before it. So that's a lot, that's almost all of them. And that's why they object to being cut out of the process. So that's something else to consider. I will mention, because Jason mentioned it, the Throgsneck Upzone, the Bruckner Upzone, the Bruckner Sykes rezoning is its technical name. Ironically, all that hoopla, and you can argue it had some political casualties as a result of it, and now they're not even going to build the thing. So, the process of housing is complicated. There's the land use proposition. There's all these different, it's got to go to the land use committee of the community board. Then it's got to go to the community board itself, and that's a 30-day notice. Then it goes to the borough president's office. Then it goes to city planning. Then it goes to the council. And then in between all those things, there's financing that needs to happen and all these. So it is a complicated process. Again, I'm not saying it's for the best or for the worst. Because you asked me what my opinion was, and I think I went through kind of the pros and the cons. A lot of them are listed on this. I just encourage everybody. This is about 4 pages long. Read it before you go vote. If there are people who, I'm going to share it on our social media pages, not providing an opinion, just as a source of information. Encourage everyone else, you can share it with your neighbors if they have questions on it. And, you know, like you said, Lee, everyone here can do their own research and arrive at their own conclusions. I only brought it here because, again, was it you who texted that? Thank you, Alice, I appreciate that. So, someone asked, you know, when we text and email out and everything, and we ask you guys to send in what are your thoughts or add to the agenda, that's if you text us what you want to talk about, we put it on the agenda, and we, you know, I will find information to bring, and even if I'm not an expert in it. So,
No, well, I was hoping that it would be, oh, John will tell us what to do.
I can't do that, and I won't do that on camera in a non-profit organization. But read it over. I think this lays out everything, the pros and the cons here.
Okay, good.
We might,
Enough
even
said.
though we largely, most of us have a similar mind on things, this gives you the pros and the cons, and people can arrive at different conclusions. I do think Prop 6, me personally, not speaking for the board, you know, we have these elections sometimes and no one turns out. And then the people, you know, I do think moving some of the municipal to be at the same time as the statewide elections, for me, just speaking for me, makes sense. Now, that's not for everyone, and I'm not speaking for a broader person than myself. But the land use stuff, I'm struggling with it as well, because, you know, we just went through all this stuff with City of Yes, we don't know how that's going to impact things. And, you know, kind of the thing with City of Yes, and you know, parts of it I liked and parts of it I didn't like, and I was always pretty candid with this group about that. But the whole point was, we just made these massive changes, and we haven't even waited to see if they're implemented, and already the mayor's trying to do an end run around the city council. And our system of government works because there's checks and there's balances, right? Ideally, maybe not at certain levels, but it's supposed to work this way, and the check and the balance on land use has always been the city council.
Yeah.
How that works, what needs to happen, I leave that for everyone to determine. I have to be totally honest with you, this has been on my to-do list to read more about these things, and maybe I will put something on my personal page on how it will be. But I will not do it for this group because
We know.
Yes. Okay. Even though we did, when the Green Bond Initiative came up, we did as a group endorse the Green Bond Initiative because it was a good thing. So just something to keep in mind. Does anyone have a question before we motion to close here? All right, everybody, thank you for a good time and for a good meeting. Appreciate you all.